How is recruitment in education changing, and why is it so important today in 2025? Hello and welcome to the Boostara Podcast. I am your host, James. On the Boostara Podcast, we speak to leaders in business and education and uncover the truths and insights from their amazing experiences. At Boostara, we help businesses boost growth, cut costs, and gain better business insights. If you would like to learn more about how we can help you, please type the word growth into the comments below, and I will be sure to reach out. Today, we are joined by the amazing TJ Juttla, Managing Director of Lotus Recruitment. Hello, TJ.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, James. Really honoured that you invited me to come on.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on today, TJ. I suppose, for our listeners that are unfamiliar with yourself, unfamiliar with the services that you provide, TJ, could you just give us a backdrop on your journey within education recruitment, and what was that spark that led you to found Lotus Recruitment?
Yeah, sure. So I grew up from in East London, not really with lots of money or always felt like I had a point to prove in this world, and I basically started off my career as an estate agent. Funny enough, I learned a lot, and I guess I kind of wanted to sort of do better in my career, and I went into recruitment back in 2015, worked for a great company called Masterclass, and I learned a lot from them, and I really built my career, went from trainee recruitment consultant to director level within 5 years, and I actually gave it a go to start my own company back in 2019, but between COVID and just being a really bad time in my life, I kind of shut the company within 3 years. Got myself into two really big corporate companies, a company called Protocol Education, which was a really great company in terms of supportive, and I learned a lot from them. And then I had the opportunity to build a branch from scratch at ANZ UK, and we done fairly well, probably to their detriment actually. I mean, it was such a great company, had a great leader, had a great manager, really supportive team, and I done really well. And I was like, you know what? I basically been in a journey of I'm a recovered alcoholic, and what that basically meant that I hit the 2 year sobriety milestone, and I was like, I need to give it one more go. I messed up my life in my 20s. I still built a really good career, but I was out of control, and by May 2023, I kind of hit that rock bottom and had that life-changing moment where I need to change things. Sorted myself out, I got myself into recovery, and now I'm 2 years, 5 months sober today, actually, and I hit that 2 year milestone, and I decided, you know what, I need to start my own business one more go. I felt like I was chasing targets and chasing numbers and all of that sort of stuff, working for these big companies. I wanted to try and do things a different way. I wanted it to be about the kids and really want to make a difference on those kids. I know what it's like to grow up in a from a really deprived background, not having lots of money and not having the greatest opportunities to succeed. I wanted to build a company that I can use as a vehicle to really make a difference to those children that need it the most. And that's what sparked my interest to start Lotus Recruitment.
That's amazing, TJ. And I think really thankful for you sharing your personal journey in that way, because I think anyone listening, well, maybe will or won't understand, because I see that if you haven't had any contact with that kind of area within life, alcoholism or any kind of addiction, it is difficult to understand. But those that have had that kind of contact, they will know the journey, they will know the mental toughness to overcome and the drive to get to the state that you're at now, right? Not just you personally, but then actually taking that further in wanting to do more good in the world, and spread that good to everyone else. And I think that's just the work that you are doing within education. Personally, as someone who's been involved with education over the years, loves being in the classroom, loves seeing the transformation that children go through. it's not just a given that teachers end up in the classroom. Teachers are put in the classroom by someone. They're put in the classroom by recruiters, or they're put in the classroom by great HR teams, right? And that's the work that you do that touches, on the end result of the children's transformations.
Yeah.
TJ, you've been involved, over the years, seeing education recruitment. What trends have you seen?
Yeah.
What things have changed over the years?
Yeah, I mean, the market's definitely changed. I mean, it's probably one of the harder markets that I've worked in. Like when I started in 2015, you'd get a really good teacher, you'd market them out, you'd send them out to like head teachers and HR managers, and you'd have 4 or 5 schools that would come back to you, biting your hand off for this teacher, right? The market just isn't that anymore. Like, I've got a couple of really good maths teachers, and I've not had one single school come back to me on them, right? And the market is like changed because obviously budgets are tighter in schools. They just don't have the funding. The workload is higher than it's ever been. There's a lot of red tape with Ofsted, like they've got to tick boxes and all of that sort of stuff. And
Yeah.
actually, like you see it in London, more and more primary schools are closing down. The effect of COVID, where like there was the sort of I think like last year we had quite a few primary schools closed down in London because there wasn't enough children like to kind of like fill those primary schools. Like more people are moving out of London, things are more expensive for families. So yeah, we've seen a real change in the market. I think the biggest change for me has been the increase in special needs. Like every year there's been more of an influx of children with autism, ADHD, dyslexia. They just need the extra support. And where my career started in supplying teachers, it's very much shifted to like supplying SEN teaching assistants. Like it's that's where schools are getting their funding to kind of support these children. That is where like recruitment for me, education recruitment has kind of moved towards. Schools still need teachers, obviously, but there's a real demand for special needs teaching assistants. Like there's these kids that just don't have an opportunity in life. I think I read a statistic where only 3% of children that have special needs go on to find work after school. I mean, it's terrifying statistic, when
Wow.
that moment in school is where they genuinely get that support that they need, like that is probably going to be their most important moment in their life, and to get the right people through the door to support them, it's genuinely a privilege to be able to do that.
That's interesting. The increase in the need for specialist teachers for
Yeah.
SEN students. Is that down to an increase, you think, in sort of diagnosis for children, or
Yeah.
is it? Where is that trend coming from, do you think?
Yeah, who knows? It's obviously it's coming from somewhere, right? I don't know whether phones have a part to play with it, devices, social media, in particular with things like ADHD. Maybe it is just that like we've become so much more aware of these conditions that we can spot them earlier on in schools, and I think
Yeah.
schools are doing a fantastic job to actually notice like certain behaviors in children like at an earlier age. I think like in the 90s, like we kind of just like overlooked special needs, but actually today that we did try to, I think we're
Yeah.
being more inclusive as a country. Schools are being much better trained at spotting which children have autism, ADHD, and can like get the right support when they need it. Like it is one of those things
Yeah.
where it's obviously like we need to do better for these children because they are like the forgotten like community, or to like so to speak. But I think schools are doing a great job to spot them early on.
And just what you said there, the statistic that you gave, the 3%, providing those students with the right teachers, that's providing them just basic equity, right, to be able to achieve amongst the peers, of which they deserve to be able to do so.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess it is one of the issues that, are there enough teachers with those
Yeah.
specialist skills? Are they easy to find?
No, they're not. I mean, look, if they were easy to find, then education recruiters wouldn't exist, right? So
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's kind of why education recruitment exists. Like they, as much as like there sometimes is a bit of a conflict between us recruiters and schools. I say conflict. I mean, like schools have this perception that we're just money hungry salespeople. It genuinely isn't the case. I mean, look, there will be some people like that. I've worked in companies where that's the case. Um, but there is a lot of good recruiters that genuinely care. You know, like we care about those relationships with our
Yeah.
educators. We care about the relationships they have with the children and that genuinely want to make a difference, you know, and I take pride in my work. Like I know that the end goal is to make an impact on that child, and um, as much as like yes, schools do have to pay for recruitment consult like recruiters to do their job and supply them with staff, we do a bloody good job. You know, like we genuinely make an impact on the schools
Mm.
and the future generation because of the work that we do. Um, yeah, they are hard to find. Like really good candidates, really good educators are definitely hard to find. Um, there's a massive shortage of good quality teachers. You know, like the governments are trying to create incentives
Mm.
to trying to bring more like teachers into the industry. And I am seeing, like, I'm speaking to a lot of graduates that are considering teaching as a career. You know, like I'm working with more graduates than I've ever worked with in the last 11 years that I've been doing this. And it seems to be that more and more people now want to make an impact opposed to just go earn loads of money in corporate companies, you know, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of people realizing they can do that in education. So I do think in the next 3 to 5 years we will see a shift towards finding more teachers that are coming into the industry. I think some of the really deprived areas that are disadvantaged, that are kind of outside of your London boroughs, will probably still struggle to an extent. Um, but I am definitely
Yeah.
seeing an upward trend of like people wanting to get into teaching. Just how long that will take to
Mm.
show in the statistics, I'm not too sure. But I'm definitely speaking to more and more graduates that want to
Mm.
go into education for sure.
No, interesting. That's graduates like now in 2025, right?
That's it, yeah.
I guess from my perspective, I want to kind of throw a little bit of a spanner in the works. I've seen over the years a huge sort of understanding from people that British sort of perception of teachers as being those ones that, oh, if you can do, if you can't, you teach, right? And then people understanding that if you want to be a teacher, go teach abroad, which is exactly what I did. I went abroad. I went to Mongolia, Shanghai, had a fantastic experience teaching abroad. A lot of people have that understanding that teaching abroad is much better than teaching in the UK. How would you sort of argue against that?
It's hard, isn't it? Because it's like there's something special about the UK. You know, like as much as like it's all great, I get why you would go to the Middle East and places like that. I get it, right? But there's something special about making a difference to the
Mm.
community that you've grown up in. You know, like the people that like grown up with, and like their children, and the people that are going to impact this country. You know, like I'm proud to be British. I am first generation
Mm.
British. Like my dad came from Kenya, my mum came from India. Like they didn't come from well educated
Mm.
backgrounds. You know, like I am super privileged and
Yeah.
super grateful to be have been raised in the UK. Like I've had better opportunities than I would have got in India and Kenya. I've met some incredible people. I've had amazing opportunities. You know, I've been able to build a career and start my own business because of the opportunities that I've received here in the
Mm.
UK. You know, and if every teacher
Yeah.
decides to leave, we're going to have all of these incredibly talented individuals that are here in the UK without direction, without the the support they need. I mean, people go into teaching to make a difference,
Mm.
not to live a wonderful lifestyle or for the money or for the sun. I mean, we're here in the UK,
Yeah.
and where you
Yeah.
can genuinely make a difference. There's a lot of children from disadvantaged backgrounds that have grown up with a single parent, that are not with low income families.
Mm.
The difference that you can make to these children, you're not going to make that difference anywhere else in the world. The UK is super special, you
Yeah.
know, and it's a privilege to be
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
and to serve the community here.
And I think that goes to the heart of it is if you are truly in teaching, if you really are going to take this as a career going forward into the long term, then you have that at the heart of it, that you want to make a difference,
Yeah.
not just go sort of travel on a gap year
Yeah.
in that sort of sense, and use teaching, to a means to an end in that way. What would you say, TJ, the misconceptions are from schools, colleges, trusts that come to use your services for maybe the first time, or maybe they haven't for a while, and then
Yeah.
they found themselves suddenly needing teachers. What are the sort of misconceptions that you hear? I think you mentioned price, expensive,
Yeah.
briefly before. Is that one of them?
Yeah, well, for sure. Look, I mean, there's a lot of misconception about kind of budgets, well, and how expensive recruitment agencies are. Um, and I totally get that, because when you look at statistics online about how much UK schools spend on recruitment agencies, it's like in the 500 millions, like, I mean, it's high. You got to bear in mind though is the schools will still pay a salary, and when you really break it down on like how much like somebody gets paid, if like for example, I think it's something along the lines of, if a teacher gets paid an M4 and it's like £202 a day, we would probably as an agency, I mean, a good agency would charge between 30 to 50 pound a day margins, right? So let's just go straight in the middle of 242. If a school is paying £204, by the time they've paid national insurance contributions, by the time they've paid pension, it probably is very similar in terms of like what they're paying. So we're not costing them any more money than they would pay a teacher if they were paid directly. Unfortunately, there's a lot of agencies out there that will exploit that, and they will charge ridiculously high margins, and obviously, unfortunately, schools will end up painting every recruitment agency with the same brush. There is a lot of recruitment agencies that work ethically. I've got a few friends in that have started their own agency, because the big agencies it is about making profit. It is about the bottom line. Like some companies that will are backed by capital fund groups, and they want to sell the company, so they want to make the company super profitable. Whereas there's a lot of us little guys and there's a lot of agencies out there, not just little guys, but that genuinely want to do it ethically. It's not about making crazy amounts of money and exploiting schools. We still got families to feed ourselves, right? Like, we still need to make a level of money, but what we do is we genuinely take away that pain of like them having to source somebody themselves, like that pain of finding the right person. I mean, they will pay thousands on advertising without a guarantee of finding the right person. They don't need to pay an agency
Yeah.
until we've got someone through the door that they've interviewed and they've offered and accepted. Like there's I mean, look, it's always down to the school and kind of what they see. But we're not like, the ethical recruiters aren't as expensive as some may believe. In a lot of the time, we probably will be around about the same price as if they employed someone directly. You know. That's definitely probably the biggest misconception,
Yeah.
that we're trying to rip them off.
It comes back to as well, the quality of the candidate that you are
That's it.
actually bringing. You are spending a lot more time than these education institutions have to actually find the quality candidate, to review the applications, to go into more in-depth questions, in-depth interviews at multiple stages, to find the best candidate that can stick long term. Because I think for most schools, colleges, wherever they are in the country, or whatever their sort of particular expertise or area, it's having teachers that stick that is the most valuable. The longer that
Yeah.
a good teacher is in position in a school, that just drives long term value. If you've got a teacher that stays there for only a few months and goes on because it's not the right place for them,
Yeah.
everyone loses.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very true. I mean, look, unfortunately, I think the world has changed a lot, and in some respects, you've got to kind of move with the times. The I think there's more and more like research and more statistics that come out that people want more flexible working. You know, unfortunately, we are just moving in that direction. More and more people want work-life balance. More people want a bit more freedom. You know, and going on supply or whatever kind of gives them that. And a lot of the time, people unfortunately, like my dad worked at Ford Motor Company for 33 years. People just don't do that anymore. You know, like people will kind of work in a place for like 2 to 3 years and they'll kind of move on, look for promotion, like have a change in circumstances, have a kid. Like the world has changed so much, you know, and it's quite rare that somebody just stays in one place for 15, 20 years now. But I think it's important to bring in fresh faces. I think like when you
Yeah.
kind of have been at a place for 5 years, you can get very complacent, especially if you're not being challenged, like or if you haven't progressed. It's important that you bring in people that are hungry, driven, that want to continue to make a difference. I think it's absolutely important that there's a mixture of people that are fresh in the industry and people that are experienced. Um, yeah, I just think it's good to have a mixture of both. But yeah, I do agree. Like, I mean, the longer somebody stays there, the more difference you're going to make, right? Like, I mean, you only need to look at the government. They come in for 4 years, pretend like think that tell us that they're going to make loads of changes, but it takes more than 4 years to really implement those changes. No government is going to fix the country in 4 years. It's going to take 10, 15, 20 years to make a difference. But yeah, I totally agree with your point. Um, and yeah, I think if you get a really good educator that kind of progresses in their career in one school and really makes a difference, that's gonna create a lasting change. So I definitely agree, but unfortunately the world is changing, and it's about how do you adapt to that, especially in education, you know?
Yeah, that's a really great insight. And when when you talk about adapting as well, with AI, with technology, you guys have to adapt as well as
Yeah.
recruitment firms to the changing landscape. What sort of impact is AI having, within your space? And
Yeah.
I guess do you see it any different within education recruitment to other, niche recruitment firms, or is it affecting the whole recruitment space the same?
Well, yeah, I mean, I definitely think AI is the future, right? I mean, it's I mean, in the next 3 years, I think AI is going to be crazy. You know, I think I started using ChatGPT 2 years ago, and I think for me, because I've got ADHD, right? What ChatGPT does for me is it unjuggles all of the crazy thoughts in my head and actually enables me to write something that's like well written, you know, and kind of like unjumbles my head. So it really works effectively for me when I'm taking notes and being able to like write certain things. Um, but I do think there is something about a personal touch, you know, and I think like even in schools, like I think soft skills need to be taught because it's so important because where the world is changing and technology is developing at such a fast pace, um, soft skills and personal skills and relationships and being able to talk to people that like those are where that just can't be replaced in my opinion. I know there's been conversations about AI becoming AI recruiters and replacing people. I just call um, yeah, well, I just think it's rubbish. You know, like the way that I get to learn about a school and really develop a relationship with them, like really well, I go down there and understand their needs and really see what the impact they're making and like what kind of people they look for, and really personalizing my search and trying to find that the right person for that school based off everything I know about them. The way that you build relationships, connect with them on an
Yeah.
emotional level. I just don't think AI can replace that, you know. And I mean, you can bring in as much technology as you want, but that human touch, like, there's nothing like it. We're a species of connection. You know, that's what separates us from the rest of the animal kingdom. And
Yeah.
as like, yeah, absolutely, we need to incorporate AI. We can definitely streamline processes so we can do follow-ups. I know there's companies out there that are doing follow-ups on LinkedIn and it's auto like generated, and it is about making things far more efficient. I just don't think you can replace humans on that personal like human level, you know. And it's about using it, and I use ChatGPT every day, and I am thinking of ways how I can implement it into the business. So it's taking away the manual labor of doing follow-ups and chasing things. Um, and there's more and more companies coming out to do that, which I think is brilliant. And I will definitely be incorporating that over the next couple of years, 100%. I think it's the future. But my stand is pretty strong. Like, you can't replace humans. I just don't think you can. The way that you can
Yeah.
build relationships, I just don't think it's going to happen.
It carries across all niches, all areas of recruitment, that for you as the owner or the head recruiter, you've got to develop that relationship with your clients. You have to understand their needs. You have to understand their urgency. You have to just know, is this a client I want to work with? Are we going to be able to manage expectations? Are our values aligned, right? And then the same on the other side with the candidates. They are coming to you with looking for a sense of trust, right? They need to establish that trust with you. You need to establish that trust with them before you then pass them on to the other place that you think is going to be the most appropriate, the best place for them to have their future. It's all based off of trust and relationship, and emotional understanding in that way. Everything else in between could be automated, right? The sentence that I keep on hearing repeated is, if you do it more than 3 times in a day, then it should probably be automated. Right? Any sort of manual data entry, anything like that, we can get AI, we can get automations to do it, but the point is to leverage that human connection. And that's why I find it very interesting hearing about, I heard this from someone I spoke to at an expo event a couple of days ago, who said that they had an appointment with someone just in their calendar. It was set up, they booked an appointment. So they showed up on Zoom, as you do, but the other person clearly had just set up a chat bot, a computer bot, to talk to the person he'd just set up an appointment with. And this person knew straight away, and like, well, no, I'm getting off this call. Because, well, you would feel, if you know that, it's just a big disrespect, right? We want to build a connection. You're offering your time in that way. There's a whole series of things that happen when we're communicating, when we're talking to people, right? And trying to automate that side of things just doesn't work, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I just don't think you can replace human beings. Like, as much as I think a lot of people talk about a robot uprising and all of that stuff that you see in the films, I just don't think you can replace human beings.
iRobot, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just think there's this really
Yeah.
special thing that we have between us, where you're not going to get on with everyone, but the way that you can connect with someone, the way that you build that mutual respect and understanding, and there is this sense. Like, I mean, there's a couple of clients that I have, a couple of schools that I work with. I go and hug them, like, when I see them, I hug them. There's real love between us, and we really get each other, and like, you can't replace that with an AI. I mean, some schools might, because they really don't care about relationships. Some recruiters might, because they don't really care about relationships. But for me, that is what I thrive off. I love knowing that I am their person, and I will go above and beyond for my clients that, like, are my clients, like that they put their trust in me. That level of trust, I just, like, it's not transactional for me. It means everything in this industry, and I just don't think
Yeah.
you can ever replace that.
Yeah. Very, very, very well said. I mean, within your day-to-day operations, TJ, if there was, a part of your work that could be automated, obviously not the human interactions, but a part of your sort of administrative duty that could be just taken over by AI.
Yeah.
What would you what would you have AI or automations do that would have the biggest impact?
Yeah, everything else. I've got ADHD, right? So
Just everything else.
yeah, anything to do with admin and like organization, like I mean, I have to manually put things in the calendar. It would be great if I can just be on a phone, it's taking notes and it's going straight in the diary, and then if I'm like taking someone through compliance process, because obviously in education, like compliance is massive, right? And we do everything by the book, but it does mean that I'm spending a lot of time on compliance at times, and it'd be really good if there was a follow-up process that can just go straight to candidates and say, you haven't uploaded this, please upload this document, all of that sort of stuff. Like that would streamline the whole process for me.
Yeah, yeah, and then it just opens you up just for more discussion and making sure you're putting the right person in the right place.
Absolutely, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. TJ, going forward for yourself and Lotus Recruitment, what's in the pipeline? What's the future got in store?
Yeah, it's I mean, I've learned in recovery, take one day at a time, right? But it's going in the right direction, like we've made 13 placements since launching in July, so we're kind of moving in the right direction. What's really good about that is we are
Yeah.
every time we place a person in a school, we get really good feedback, and that school then books more people through us, which shows that we're getting the right people through the door. Like this one school that I'm working with, I've now got
Yeah.
8 people working in that school, and it shows that we're doing something
Mm,
right. And it's just about I want to get to a certain point by
yeah.
January, February that I'm able to take someone new on. I want to launch the special needs educational division, so the SEN division, and I'm looking for someone to launch that for me in January, February, and then yeah, we'll see. I mean, I want to grow out London. I want to make more of an impact on the communities that I've grown up around, and then knowing that I'm making that difference, being able to kind of move that across the country, and yeah, we'll see where it goes from there. But I genuinely care about making a difference to as many children as I can, and I hope to use Lotus Recruitment as a vehicle to be able to do that.
Yeah, amazing. You mentioned the SEN specific recruitment that you've done. Is there a particular kind of case study or example you can share where you've placed a teacher and it's had some kind of
Yeah.
transformation for students or for the
Yeah, there's
school?
a really great young lady called Daisy who I've placed into one of my schools, and she's had a background in speech and language, and she's obviously been placed as a special needs teaching assistant. She's a really good graduate, King's College English graduate. She's got so much personality, really cares about the children, and she's gone in there, and there's a child with autism that struggles with speech and language, right? And it was really
Right.
like like really lacks confidence, no self-belief. The work that she's done has helped him like be able to say certain words correctly, start building confidence that he can speak and like open up about where like his emotions, and like that confidence boost. She's been able to take him on that journey to be able to do that. That's what it's about for me, like genuinely making
Yeah.
that impact. That child could have easily gone under the radar or not been able to get that level of support. But it just takes that one special person to make an impact on a child that really believes in them, that gives them that time of day. I mean, that for me is why I do this.
Yeah, exactly. It's what we said at the beginning that it starts actually with you guys, right? We always hear about the success stories in the classroom, teachers' interactions with students and over time, but it actually starts with a good placement, making sure the
Absolutely.
teacher's there
Yeah.
in the first place, which is exactly what you guys do, and without you guys that wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, any schools or education institutions that are listening and they want to reach out to yourself and see how you can help them. What's the best contact details to reach you on, TJ?
Yeah, I mean, so you can find me on LinkedIn. I've got about 14,000 followers on there. So if you're not connected, please do connect. So yeah, it's TJ Juttla. And then you can just drop me a call, which is on 07427 591 685 if you want to have a chat. And then obviously you can email me on TJ at Lotus lotusrecruitment.co.uk. But yeah, LinkedIn is always a good place to start, I think. Is you can see what I've been up to and the journey that I've been on. So yeah, if you ever want to connect, I'd love to kind of see how I can support or just give advice. I mean, a lot of the time people reach out just for advice, and I'm always happy to give it.
Brilliant, brilliant. I will be sure to put your details below and
you.
I would encourage any schools or colleges across the UK, right? You don't have to be based in London, but anywhere in the UK, to reach out to you. And I would say especially pertinent, as I've seen schools and colleges, especially around my area, that have that need for special educational needs support and the right placements. With TJ's upcoming new division, definitely get in touch with TJ to see how he can support your school in that regard. I guess TJ, in summary, the things that stood out for me really, number one is that using a recruitment firm, an educational recruitment firm such as yourself, it doesn't mean expensive. It doesn't mean rip off. It has maybe had that reputation, but especially with you guys, it's coming from the heart. It's coming from you wanting to work, place correctly, improve the lives of children, and you're not ripping people off. You're finding the right placement for that school, for that particular classroom. I'd say number two, really, in my mind, is the and it seems obvious, but it's maybe just not talked about so often. Is the rise in the need for SEN specialist teachers and support in schools, and how that needs to really become a priority for schools and colleges to work with the likes of yourself to ensure that they've got the right support in schools. And AI, as you said, AI can and should do a lot of the manual data entry, but it shouldn't do the human connection. It can't replace the humans. That part is still is still with us and has to be with us, especially in an educational context.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Would you agree with those three statements?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Not all of us recruiters are money hungry rip-offs. A lot of us genuinely do care, and we will try and work around schools and their budgets, and genuinely we care about making a difference to those children. It's not just Lotus. We're not saying that we're the only ones doing that. There's a lot of good friends of mine, people like Chris Sherman, Nick Bamber, who've also got their own education recruitment companies, Tommy Bird, Nathan. There's so many agencies out there that genuinely do care, that want to make a difference, not all of us are just trying to exploit schools and make loads of money. That's not what all of us are about.
Yeah.
A lot of us are genuinely passionate about wanting to make a difference to kids' lives, and I take pride in my work. I've grown, like I said at the beginning, I've grown up with not very much, and it only takes that one special person to really change your life, and I hope that I can give that to as many kids indirectly as I can.
Yeah, amazing, and I think that's the way it should be with anyone that's related to education in any way. It should be coming from the heart, and I think every listener can feel that from yourself as well, TJ.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you on, TJ, and I would highly encourage, as I said already, schools, colleges, educational institutions, get in touch with TJ, especially surrounding SEN teacher support. TJ, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, James. It's been a pleasure.
Brilliant. And thank you everyone for listening. Please like and share this video so we can get this out to as many people as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you.